Did you know that landowners are losing their property without ever signing a document? If you own vacant land, this scam is aimed directly at you. I'm a land broker, so I receive these emails from scammers constantly, and many agents don't realize who they're dealing with until it's too late. So I'm going to show you two emails. One is typical of a real landowner, and the other is typical of a scammer. Can you tell which is which? Here's the first email.
Good morning. I would like to sell my land in Lancaster. It's 80 acres on Avenue M8. It's a nice flat piece of land. I just don't have time to develop it. Do you work in the Lancaster area? I think prices have gone up since I bought it. What is your commission? Thanks. David Johnson.
And here's the second email.
Good morning. I would like to sell my lot. Kindly prepare a comparative market analysis on price, then send me the listing agreement to sign. Name Johnson David. APN 3248-015-123. Address Avenue Mate, 87th Street West, Del Sur, California 93536. I look forward to your prompt reply.
Which one is the identity thief? Most people guess wrong. But by the end of this video, you will have 20 clues on how to spot the scammer. I will share real emails that I received from actual scammers. Of course, identifying information has been changed to protect the true landowners.
Clue number 1. The inquiry is from an online portal.
Legitimate sellers usually reach out to agents directly. Inquiries that arrive only through listing portals like homes.com or land.com can be real, but they're also frequently used by scammers, so treat them with caution. For example, suppose you're an agent specializing in selling high-rise condos in San Francisco, and you receive an inquiry through an online portal asking you to sell a vineyard in Napa Valley. This can happen because scammers select agents at random, not based on qualifications or experience. An inquiry like this should immediately raise red flags.
Clue 2. Their email is a provider, not a domain.
Provider emails like Gmail, Yahoo, or AOL can be created by anyone. Domain emails, on the other hand, like toyota.com, yale.edu, or aclu.org, are tied to companies, universities, or organizations and are rarely used in scams. Scammers almost always use provider emails, not domain emails. So an inquiry from a domain email is very unlikely to be a scam. An inquiry from a provider email isn't proof of fraud, obviously, but it is one of many clues. Let's say that use of a provider email is necessary but not sufficient for there to be a scam. Here, scammer Julie Hahn uses Gmail. The fake Fred Brooks uses Proton, and Manuel Lee uses Outlook. These are all provider emails.
Clue number 3. Their email is their name.
Identity thieves send hundreds of emails a day. To keep track of which owner they're impersonating, they use first and last name email addresses, not casual names like Loves the Beach or Gone Fishing. Julie Y. Hahn uses Hahn Y. Julie. Kenny Jan Lerman uses his full name. Fred W. Brooks has somehow become Brooks Fred A. So Mr. Brooks has apparently forgotten his own middle initial, another red flag.
Clue 4. They request a comparative market analysis.
Real landowners will contact me and ask, what price do you recommend? Or they might say, could you please do some research on price, or something like that. They almost never say, send me a comparative market analysis or CMA, like Julie Hahn is doing here. Angelina Pata asks twice for a CMA, and Manuel Lee doesn't ask what price I'd suggest. He wants me to review the comparative analysis price. Any use of this CMA language is a red flag.
Clue number 5. They use the word kindly.
The scammers who have contacted me all seem to love using the unusual word kindly. Elliot kindly requests the grant deed. Fraudster Julie asks me to kindly review the CMA price. These are just two examples of many. So I asked ChatGPT whether this is really a thing. And as you can see here, ChatGPT agrees that the word kindly is commonly used by scammers.
Clue 6. They want a fast sale.
Scammers are always in a hurry. Fred says that his land must be sold as soon as feasible. He asks that I, quote, quicken things, and pushes for me to respond promptly. Manuel also emphasizes urgency and asks me to send the listing agreement before discussing price and before I have told him my commission. This is not how legitimate sellers behave.
Clue 7. They shout in all caps.
Manuel shouts in all caps that he wants to sell his lot. Fred Brooks suddenly capitalizes the land's address in the middle of his sentence, and Mr. Lerman randomly capitalizes his own name. These odd bursts of capitalization are a strong sign that the sender is copying and pasting from a data file, not writing a natural message.
Clue 8. They refer to the location in an unusual way.
Manuel says the address of his land is VAC Lumber Street, VIC 62nd Street West, which is a dead giveaway that it was copied straight from title records. In Los Angeles County, VAC just means vacant land, and VIC means in the vicinity of. They aren't real parts of an address. He also lists the city as Del Sur, which isn't a city at all, it's just a neighborhood within the city of Lancaster. The true owner would say something like, it's on Lumber Street near 62nd in Lancaster. Julie also copies from title records. I can tell because no one refers to that area as Mount Waterman. People who own property there would call it Antelope Valley. Referring to the lands addressed in a strange way is a red flag.
Clue number 9. They refer to the size of the land in an unusual way.
A small residential parcel is typically called a lot, while a large 160-acre property would be referred to as land or acreage. Scammers often get this wrong. Julie, for example, refers to her large acreage as a lot, which incorrectly implies that it is small. This sounds strange and unnatural and offers a clue that Julie is a scammer.
Clue 10. They reverse the order of first and last name.
Instead of saying their name is John Doe, a scammer will often reverse the order and say they are Doe John. This is because they are copying from a data source where the order of names is reversed. Julie signs off as Han Julie. Fred Brooks writes, I'm Brooks Fred, and Manuel Lee introduces himself as Lee Manuel.
Clue 11. No knowledge of property details.
Here I ask about water, sewer, electricity reports, architectural plans, a survey, and the reason for selling. Not only to learn about the property, but also to test whether the person I'm communicating with is the actual owner. And the response is, they're all nearby. I suggest that you walk the lot to get a better idea. Based on their evasive response, it is clear that they are not the owner. In this email, I try a different tactic. I tell Ricardo that I noticed his land is on a paved street, has utilities, sits next to a house, is zoned solar, and is located in the city of Del Sur. In reality, the property is nothing like that. It's on a dirt road, not a paved street. It's in the middle of the desert with no utilities. There is no neighboring house. There is no zoning designation called solar in this county, and Del Sur isn't a city. I'm 99% sure that Ricardo is a scammer, so my goal is to see whether he will object to any of this misinformation. His reply is, I've heard what you said. Send me the CMA. I want to sign the agreement. No, Ricardo, because if you were the actual owner, you would know that none of this is correct.
Clue 12. They are unsure about co-owners.
Julie does not know who she's on title with and is asking me to tell her who her co-owners are. That's a no, Julie.
Clue 13. They don't ask about agent qualifications.
Actual owners vet agents before agreeing to sign a listing agreement. In contrast, scammers like Kenny will request a listing agreement in their very first email without asking a single question about my experience, how many land parcels I've sold, or how I market land.
Clue 14. No pushback on price, commission, or length of listing.
Here is another exchange with scammer Ricardo. Recall that he's the one to whom I deliberately provided false information to waste his time and see how he would react. In this exchange, I claim that because the property is zoned solar, which you remember is not an actual zoning designation, I can list it at $600,000. Between you and me, that's 10 times its assessed value. I also tell him my commission is 12%. I wish, but that is also false. He immediately responds that this is fine and asks me to send the listing agreement. There is no pushback on the wildly inflated price or the absurdly high commission. This reaction is the clearest sign yet that he is not the legitimate owner.
Clue number 15. They list with more than one agent.
Virtually all listing agreements prohibit a seller from listing the same property with more than one agent at the same time. Yet in this case, scammers Manuel and Lolita listed their land with two different agents at two different prices. Owners are legally allowed to list adjacent but separate parcels with different agents, but that scenario is exceedingly rare and also a strong indicator that you're dealing with a scammer.
Clue 16. They're traveling away from their address of record.
Scammers always claim to be traveling. Here, Angelina says she is in London and helpfully clarifies that she means London in the UK, as if I might be confused about which London she was referring to. Julie, meanwhile, says she is in the north of Asia. Why not simply say the actual country? And predictably, Manuel is not at his address of record in the Philippines. Instead, he claims to be traveling on business to Hawaii.
Clue 17. They don't volunteer their phone number.
Real owners almost always provide a phone number up front. In contrast, scammers will share a phone number reluctantly, but only when they are specifically asked for one. In this exchange, I tell Ricardo, whom I'm confident is a scammer, that I found his landline number through a web search and ask whether this is the number I should use to reach him when there is an offer. Ricardo does not say he doesn't recognize that number. His silence is telling. And between you and me, the number I gave him actually belongs to a local police department.
Clue 18. They insist on a particular notary.
For the scam to succeed, the fraudster must use a notary who is part of the scheme. To justify this, they invent explanations, such as using their trusted local notary or pretending they will notarize documents at an embassy while traveling. Elliot, for example, claims it's easy to get a notary appointment at the London embassy, so he prefers to use a notary there when he's traveling. I checked, and the embassy's website shows available appointment times highlighted in yellow. Oh, you don't see any yellow here? That's because embassy notary services are booked weeks in advance with no open appointment slots available before the escrow closing date. Elliot didn't bother to check because he plans to use his partner in crime, not a notary at the embassy.
Clue number 19. They're bossy.
When I ask Angelina for a copy of her driver's license and passport, she responds curtly, telling me to move on and send the listing agreement, insisting that the remaining steps can be handled later. She then follows up with, "What you have to do now is," issuing instructions rather than responding to my request for ID.
And finally, clue 20. They delay, ghost, or get angry.
On November 8th, I asked Julie for a screenshot of her passport and driver's license. Julie says she'll do it first thing in the morning. On November 12th, 4 days later, I again ask for IDs. Julie says she is flying and she will send it when she lands. On November 16th, I ask for IDs a third time. The next day, on November 17th, she responds that her plane has just landed and she will send it now. Wow, a 5-day flight. Does she ever send her ID? No, she doesn't. The following email is abusive. I'm showing it for educational purposes only. An over-the-top reaction like this to a simple request for ID is a clear sign that the person is a scammer.
Tammy, you are very stupid to said that I'm not the owner of my lot. Why are asking me passport, which I'm about to send to you? If you are not stupid, you should not said that I am not the owner. Is your father or your mother that is the owner? Idiot. I thought you were a good agent, and I don't know that you are a bastard and big fool. I will publish you. The whole world will see you and know you are irresponsible agent, mad human being. You are born by a bastard parent. Get out and go to hell and die.
So Angelina has made it clear that she wants to unalive me just for asking for her ID. But what really hurts my feelings is when she criticizes my spelling. Now that's a low blow. Before I go any further, I want to be clear that these 20 clues are not foolproof indicators. If they were, every email from a scammer would contain all of them, and emails from real owners would contain none. That's not how it works. In reality, scammers tend to have many of these characteristics, while real owners may occasionally have one or two of them. Identifying a scammer is not about spotting a single red flag. It's about putting the entire pattern together, like solving a puzzle. Let's return to the 2 emails I showed you at the beginning. Now that you know the 20 clues for spotting scammers, you should be able to figure out which email is from a scammer and which is from the true owner. The first email is from SkiBum456. Right away, that casual name is an indicator that this is not a scammer. Scammers use the landowner's actual name and their email address. He describes the location of his property with a simple street name and city, typical of a real owner. He highlights a positive feature of the land by saying it's flat, because real owners want to convince me of the value of their land, whereas scammers are focused only on a fast sale. He explains why he's selling, another hallmark of a genuine owner. Then he starts vetting me. He asks whether I work in that area and what my commission is. That's exactly how real owners behave. They want to make sure they're choosing the right agent. Finally, he signs off with his first and last name. All of this points to one conclusion: this email is from a real owner. Now let's look at the second email. This one is from Johnson David 789. That alone is a red flag because scammers use the actual owner's name and the email address. David refers to his 80 acres as a lot, whereas most real owners would refer to a large property as land or acreage. He uses the word kindly and asks for a CMA, both classic scam indicators. He immediately asks me to send the listing agreement without discussing price, commission, or my qualifications. He signs his name as Johnson David instead of David Johnson, and he describes the property location exactly as it appears in title records, something real owners almost never do. He's also in a hurry and asks for a prompt reply. This second email is from a scammer. And to summarize, here are the 20 clues again. If you found this helpful, feel free to like, subscribe, and forward this video to your favorite realtor.